Reeve Callahan's knuckles had gone white somewhere around the third mile. He hadn't noticed at first, hadn't noticed the way his grip had tightened incrementally with every bend in the road, every tree that closed a little further overhead, every second the GPS sat frozen on the screen with that small spinning icon that meant absolutely nothing helpful. He only noticed when Petra reached over and put her hand on his forearm, not saying anything, just placing it there the way she did when she wanted him to know she was paying attention too. The road was called County Line 9. That was the last thing the navigation had told them before it stopped cooperating. They'd left the city that morning later than planned. Reeve's fault. A client call that ran long. The kind of thing he used to apologize for and had recently stopped apologizing for because it never changed anything. Petra had already loaded the car. She'd booked this place 4 months ago. A small lake rental tucked into the hill country, 2 nights, no obligations. The first real exhale either of them had taken since Reeve spent the better part of a year grinding toward his contractor license. He'd passed on the 3rd attempt. She'd cried when he called her. He hadn't told her he'd cried too. Sitting in the parking lot outside the testing center with the result on his phone and nowhere to put the feeling. This weekend was supposed to be where they put it. Instead, he was doing 30 miles an hour on a road that kept narrowing, watching the tree canopy seal itself above the headlights like something closing, and trying to remember the last time he'd seen another car. Try restarting it, Petra said, nodding at the GPS. I've restarted it twice. Try it again. He tapped the screen. The spinning icon disappeared. A blue line appeared, then jumped. Then the voice said, calmly, recalculating. And the blue line jumped again, further this time, landing somewhere that didn't correspond to any road Reeve could see on the map thumbnail. He pulled onto the shoulder and stopped. The silence outside was the kind that had weight to it. Not peaceful. Present. Petra's phone showed no signal. It showed one bar that vanished when he tried to use it. He had a paper atlas in the back seat, a habit his father had drilled into him. Paper doesn't lose signal. But when he unfolded it across the steering wheel and found their approximate location, County Line 9 wasn't on it. The road existed. The atlas just hadn't thought it was worth including. That was when the truck appeared. It came from the direction they'd been heading, dark green, an older model, moving slowly, no urgency. It pulled off the road about 20 feet ahead of them and idled. A heavy-set man in a faded work jacket got out from the driver's side. He walked toward them with the unhurried confidence of someone who belonged on this road the way furniture belongs in a room. Reeve rolled his window down 2 inches. You folks lost, the man said. Not unkindly. GPS went out, Reeve said. We're trying to get to Lake Harrow Road. The man nodded slowly, like he'd been expecting exactly that answer. Main connector washed out last week. Culvert collapsed. You won't get through that way. He turned slightly and gestured back down the road. But if you follow us, there's a cut through. Comes right out at the lake road. 10 minutes, maybe less. Reeve glanced at Petra. Her face was still, not skeptical, something quieter than skeptical. The way she looked when she'd already made a decision and was waiting to see if he'd make the same one. He didn't. We appreciate it, he said. The man nodded again and walked back to his truck. The passenger, thinner, younger, barely visible through the windshield, hadn't moved once during the exchange. Hadn't looked up. Hadn't acknowledged them at all. Reeve pulled back onto the road and followed. The pavement lasted another mile before it gave out. Packed dirt replaced it without warning. No sign, no transition, just a change in sound beneath the tires and a slight drop in the car's ride height. Reeve checked the odometer. They'd gone 3 miles since the man said 10 minutes, maybe less. He did the math quietly and kept it to himself. The trees had changed too. Less canopy now, more density. They pushed up close to the road's edge, branches occasionally grazing the side mirror, the headlights cutting only about 40 feet ahead before the dark absorbed everything else. Petra had her phone in her hand. Still no signal. How far do you think? She asked. He said 10 minutes. That was 10 minutes ago. Reeve didn't answer. He watched the truck's taillights. They stayed consistent, same speed, same distance, as though the driver had calibrated himself to stay just far enough ahead to be followed, but not caught up with. Then Petra said, Reeve. Something in her tone made him ease off the accelerator. That tree. She was pointing to the right side of the road. A dead oak. Massive, split clean down the middle by what must have been lightning. Both halves still standing, leaning away from each other like something mid-collapse that had frozen in place. What about it? I saw it before. There are a lot of dead trees out here, Petra. Not like that one. Her voice was steady. That was what made him listen. Petra didn't do theatrical. We passed that exact tree about 2 miles back. Same split. Same lean. Same dead branches on the left side. Reeve looked in the rearview mirror. The road behind them was dark and empty. The truck's taillights were still ahead. He drove another 30 seconds without speaking, running the geometry in his head, looking for the rational explanation that would make her wrong. He wanted her to be wrong. He needed the weekend to still be salvageable, needed this to be an unfamiliar road and 2 similar-looking trees and nothing else. Then the dead oak appeared again. Same split. Same lean. Same branches on the left. Reeve stopped the car. Stop the car. Petra. Reeve. Stop the car. He already had. The engine idled. The truck ahead had stopped too. Not pulled over, just stopped, in the middle of the road, taillights burning red in the dark. Neither door opened. Neither man moved. They simply sat there, the way something sits when it isn't surprised. Petra's hand found the door handle. Don't, Reeve said. I'm not going anywhere. I just need. She stopped, pressed her fingers against the window instead. We've passed that tree 3 times, Reeve. I've been counting since the second time. 3 times. Same tree. Same road. We haven't turned around. He knew she was right. He'd known since the second oak. He just hadn't said it out loud yet, because saying it out loud meant accepting that he didn't have a framework for what was happening, and Reeve Callahan had spent the better part of his adult life building frameworks. For problems. For setbacks. For the specific kind of fear that comes from wanting something badly enough that failure starts to feel personal. He didn't have one for this. He put the car in reverse. The steering responded, technically. The wheel turned. The car moved. But there was a quality to it he couldn't name, a resistance that wasn't mechanical, like driving through something that had texture but no physical presence. Like the road itself was exerting a preference. He got the car pointed back the way they came anyway. He pressed the accelerator. The dead oak appeared in the headlights. Ahead of them. Not behind. Petra made a sound that wasn't quite a word. Something involuntary. Something that came from a place below language. Reeve sat with both hands on the wheel and his foot still on the accelerator and the car not moving. Just sitting there with the engine running and the oak tree dead center in the beam of the headlights. Perfectly still. Perfectly split. Like a landmark placed there on purpose. Like a marker. His door opened before he decided to open it. He stood on the road and the night air hit him. Cool. Flat. Carrying the smell of pine resin and something underneath it that he couldn't identify, something older. He walked to the tree. He put his hand on the bark. It was real. Solid. He pressed his thumbnail into it, and it left a mark. He turned around and shouted into the dark at nothing in particular. He didn't know what he was expecting. An answer, maybe. Or the relief of hearing his own voice and having it come back normal, unchanged. Proof that the air at least was still functioning the way air was supposed to function. His voice went out and didn't come back. When he turned back to the car, the truck's headlights were on, pointed directly at him. The passenger was standing outside the truck for the first time. He hadn't heard a door open. The man was thin in a way that suggested not weight but dimension, like he occupied slightly less space than a person should. He walked to the hood of Reeve and Petra's car with something in his hand. Set it down. Walked back to the truck. Got in. The headlights stayed on. Petra was already reaching through the window for it before Reeve made it back. A folded piece of paper. Plain. No envelope. She unfolded it across her knees. A hand-drawn map. Rough but legible. County Line 9 running horizontally across the center of the page. The surrounding roads sketched in with enough accuracy to be recognizable. There was a single marked exit point, circled, with an arrow and a label. The label was tomorrow's date. Neither of them spoke for a long moment. What does that mean? Reeve said. Not a question exactly. More like something he needed to hear himself say. Petra folded the map slowly along its original creases. I think it means we can't leave tonight. The way she said it wasn't panicked. That was somehow worse than panic. It was the voice she used when she'd already processed something and come out the other side. Calm not because things were fine, but because calm was the only thing left that was useful. Stay with us. Because what happens next is the part most people don't believe until it happens to them. Reeve looked at the 2 men sitting in the truck. They weren't watching him. They were just present, the way a locked door is present, the way a wall is present. Not threatening. Not waiting for anything. Just there. Fixed. He looked at the tree line. Then he looked at Petra. Get out of the car, he said. Reeve. We're not staying on this road. He pulled his door open and held it. We go through the trees. We find a light, a road, anything. We move until we find something real. And the car? Leave it. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she got out. They didn't look back at the truck. Reeve didn't let himself. He took Petra's hand and they walked into the tree line, and the dark closed behind them immediately, completely, the way dark does in places that have never needed to accommodate people. The men didn't follow. He heard no doors open, no footsteps, nothing. That was the part he'd think about later. Not the road, not the tree, not the map. The fact that the men didn't follow. Because predators who don't follow aren't afraid of where you're going. They already know what's there. They walked for what felt like 20 minutes and came out on a two-lane road with painted lines and a gas station on the corner with all its lights on. A sheriff's deputy was filling his tank at the pump nearest the road. Country music from inside the station. A overhead light buzzing. Real, ordinary, loud. Petra started crying the moment she saw the deputy. Not loudly, just steadily, the way rain starts when it's committed. They told him everything. He listened without interrupting, which Reeve appreciated, and took notes in a small spiral pad, which made him feel briefly like the world still had systems in it. Then the deputy told them County Line 9 had been decommissioned in 2009, a dead-end service road maintained for utility access. It terminated in a locked gate approximately a quarter-mile in. There was no loop. There was no through road. There was no way it connected to anything. Their car was recovered the following morning, parked neatly on the main highway shoulder. Engine off, keys in the ignition, both doors closed. No damage. No indication it had been driven on a dirt road. Neither Reeve nor Petra had parked it there. 3 weeks later, Petra was going through her winter coat, the one she'd worn that night, looking for a chapstick she'd lost. Her fingers found something in the interior pocket. She already knew what it was before she pulled it out. The map, folded along its original creases. She stood in the hallway of their apartment and unfolded it slowly, and the road was still there, and the exit point was still circled, and the label beneath the arrow had changed. Next weekend's date, written in the same hand. She stood there for a long time. Then she folded it back up, placed it on the kitchen counter, and went to find Reeve. She didn't know what she was going to say when she found him. She wasn't sure there were words for it yet. But she knew one thing with complete certainty. The way you know things that have moved past fear into something quieter and more permanent. The road wasn't done with them. If that ending just did what we think it did, you already know where the like button is.